login page. I'm going to click on EC2. You'll see it. Otherwise, you can search it from the search bar in the top. And I'm going to select launch instance. Okay. So whenever I want to create a mission, okay, I need to give 3 or 4 mandatory parameters for it. Okay. The first parameter is what is the operating system I'm going to choose. Okay. In Amazon, that is called as the AMI, Amazon Mission Image. Okay. I'm going to use CentOS 7 as a mission image. Okay. So this is the first thing I'm going to choose. So the first, if you see that there are 7 stages to bring up a mission. So in the first stage, it is asking to choose the AMI. So in the search bar, I'm going to search for CentOS 7. And I don't see in the quick start or my AMI. I see a result in the marketplace. If I click on that, I'll be able to choose the CentOS 7 with updated HVM. Okay. So let me select that. So this is the image I'm going to select for that. So the next parameter I need to provide is called as the what should be my capacity of the mission, like how many CPUs I need to allocate, how many memory I need to provide, all these things I need to provide. That is called the instance type. Choose the instance type. So here I'm going to use a T3A micro. Sorry, T3A medium. I want a mission with 2 CPU and 4 GB RAM. So let me select the T3A medium. So I need a mission with 2 CPU and 4 GB RAM. So let me select the T3A medium. And next is where I'm going to configure the network for it. Okay, whether it should have a public IP for it and how many instances I want. And while the instance is coming up, I need to execute some command on that. So all those things I can see it here. So if you see that, so the number of instance, okay, this is where I'm going to tell how many instance I want. I want only one instance with this configuration. If I want multiple, I can provide that. And next is on which VPC I want this mission to come up. Okay, if you if you remember the Kubernetes cluster, we have brought up a new VPC. Inside that I have brought up the cluster, but here I'm just going to use the default VPC. I will use the same. Okay. So I will use the default VPC. And then whether if I need to have a public IP auto assigned in the default settings, it is enabled. Okay. And if I want to create a AD and this mission has to be added to a AD, those kind of things I can do it. IAM role is a concept where you can tell whether the mission should have some privilege on the AWS resources. Okay. This was used in our CloudFormation template. What we have done is our Kubernetes master should be able to communicate to AWS to create the load balancer. It should be able to communicate and get the EBS and all those stuffs, right? So those things it will be creating as a role, and role will be assigned. This mission doesn't need that kind of roles, so we are good. And then when I shut down the mission, whether the mission should be stopped or terminated, the default is stop. Okay. And then if I want to put a user data, that means I want to run some commands inside the mission while it is coming up, I can put it here. I'm not going to change anything on the screen. So this is the area. You can provide the configurations for your instances. No changes here. And next is I'm going to add a storage. So let me have a storage of, let's say, 10 GB. So this is where I'm going to say what should be the hard disk capacity of the mission. Okay. So 10 GB will be more than enough for our lab. So I'm just using 10 GB here. And next is the tags. Tags are very important in AWS because with the tags, you'll be able to filter the missions like labels in Kubernetes. You can do that. So a mission can be brought up without any tags, but always keep minimum one tag. So I'm going to add a name tag, click to add a name tag, and I'm going to name it as trainer batch 1. And then next is my security group. So security group is the area where I'm going to tell what are all the ports should be open for the mission, right? Because when I want to open a particular port, what are the ports needs to be open. So I'm going to select a existing security group. Okay. For this training, I have created a training security group. If you see that there are a couple of ports opened, like 80 is open, 8080 is open, 22 is open, 50,000 is open, 3389 is open. So based on our training requirement, this security group was already created. So I'm going to use that. And next is review and launch. So you can see what are all the things which I put. I can see that options here. And when I click on launch, it is going to ask me what should be the authentication mechanism I should use. Okay, we already have keys on that region, so I'm just going to use the same key to connect to the mission. Okay, so I'm going to choose an existing key pair, and the trainee 21 is the key pair I'm using. Let me acknowledge that and click on launch instance. So these are the steps you should follow to bring up a mission in Amazon via a UI, okay? Or otherwise, you have to, in the CloudFormation, or there is one more tool called Terraform, which can bring up the servers from the command line, that is infrastructure as a code concept, okay? Where I can say my number of, so the bare minimum information I need to provide for a mission to come up is, I need to provide the image, okay? I need to provide the instance type and the key I should be using for it. Other things, it can take the default value and it can bring up the mission for you. Okay. So it's saying my instance is now launching, and you can see a number here. When you click on that, you can see the instance is coming up. It is still in the initializing stage. So if I select the mission, I can see the public IP has been allocated for that. So because in the network configuration, I have told it to use allocate a public IP. So let me copy the public IP. The default is it will assign a public IP for the mission.
Great.
So in the putty, I'm going to put the IP address, and in the SSH, my key is selected, the trainee21.ppk. And if I click on open, it should ask me the initial prompt. And if I log into that, CentOS is the username. So the username I'm going to use is CentOS. The first command I'm going to do is I'm going to update it to the latest patch updates. The command is sudo yum update -y. So let us run this. So this will update it to the latest version, sudo yum update -y. So it will install the latest OS patches. So the next thing we are going to do is we need to install the Java, because for Jenkins, the minimum requirement is it needs Java. Okay. So let's install the Java using yum command. So the command is sudo yum install -y java -1.8.0 open jdk By default, in the CentOS default repo, Jenkins repository is not available. So I'm going to download the Jenkins repo and install it. So for that, I need a command called wget. Wget is a Linux-based utility which can download files from any URL. Okay. So for that, let me install wget yum sudo yum install wget -y. Once it is done, let me download the Jenkins repo to the etc yum repos.d. So this is the file, repo file. Let me download it to the using wget. So this command will download the Jenkins repo and put it on the etc yum repos.d. And then I'm going to import the Jenkins key for the signature verification. So this command will install the key for signature verification. So once it is done, I can install Jenkins. The command is sudo yum install Jenkins -y. So these are all the steps I'm adding. So first I'm updating the OS, then installing Java, and then I'm installing the Jenkins repo and importing the Jenkins key. Then I'm installing the Jenkins. So once it is done, let me start and enable Jenkins. So Jenkins is going to run as a service. So I need to start. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to start and enable the service. Sudo systemctl start Jenkins. Sudo systemctl So this will start the Jenkins. Enable will ensure even if my server got restarted, it will automatically start the Jenkins server. Once you are done with that, get the public IP of your machine and then try to access it on any browser on the port 8080. So it will be :8080. Okay. You should see the initial Jenkins screen, which you have seen in the Docker training, right? So you should be able to see the similar thing. So Jenkins will by default installed in this location, var lib Jenkins. And here the initial admin password will be there in this file. So let's run the command on the server, that is this machine. Sudo cat. It is going to give me some alphanumerical code. Let me copy paste that. Continue. And in the next page, let's select install suggested plugin. I'm going to install the plugins, some of the default plugins. Let it run. It is going to take some time. Okay. for me the plugin installation is completed, then it is asking me for the user creation. So that in the username, I'm going to give everything as admin. Username is admin, password is admin, password is also confirm password admin, the full name is admin, and email address admin@admin.com. I'm just going to give everything as admin so that I will not forget that. If you want, you can just give your own username and password. Okay. And next is, it is going to tell that how I'm going to call the Jenkins. Like for example, in your organization, you are going to create a DNS entry for Jenkins. You can put that. This is one of the important parameter. The reason behind it is, like whenever you send the notification out, okay, so the build logs and other things, you have to send the URL, okay, in which that build logs are available, okay. So if you directly provide that information, right, so you cannot attach everything in the email. You'll be providing, so go to this URL to get more information about this particular build, if the build is failed or something like that, right? So that in that email notification, this Jenkins URL will be configured. So we are allowed to change that later. I will show you where to do that, but let's stick to the default one. But this is one of the important parameter you can use to specify the Jenkins URL. Okay, so let's stick to the same this IP, and let's click on save and finish. They'll get option to start using my Jenkins. So this will be the default Jenkins page.